Suppose there is an investor who has a very high success rate, okay, of or a high ROI on whatever investments he has made, and you clone his persona into a digital persona, and you replicate that into multiple markets. Like if that investor only invests in US markets, you make that persona relevant to say a South American market, okay, which is again it understands the cultural nuances and the investment landscape of South America, and say that okay, this is I'm working in America, but I want a version of me in South America, Asia, Europe. Will that be possible? You think?
This requires to build your own LLMs and your own data sets, and to build an LLM and like it requires huge GPU power. It requires huge capital, yes, for sure. But I'll tell you what we are trying to do right now is first is definitely automate the due diligence. That's what something which we're aiming at, and bring a recommender system, which you are talking about. Can I get a recommender system that with startups can I replicate my persona to, right? But coming back to the answer, I totally agree with him. It is really not going to give you accurate answer for sure. Okay. It's not going to give you accurate answer. It's going to succeed or not. But and today, if you go to GPTs or any other AI tools out there, they are not accurate. They are exactly like 72%. Like if you say GPT, it is 72. Anthropic has reached 83. Okay. Nobody's 100 on 100, right? So what we're trying to do is go close as much you can, right? And if I go in America and then in South America, right? So there are many major factors which comes in, right? So these factors are parameters, and these parameters are data sets, and data sets requires GPU, right? So in simple language, as I said, what is GPU? It's basically a team of Avengers, right? And then there is CPUs. So it's basically individual hero, right? So you require the whole team to get to that output, right? You require investment, you require team players, you require MLA engineers, you require data scientists, you require many people to get to that output, right? And it requires huge power also, power of not money but power as in the electricity, right? So it's definitely going to be very difficult to come to that solution, but I'm telling you there are VCs who are actually building it.
Think about a VC or think about an investor who's sector specific, okay? An investor or a VC who's focused only on, let's say, fintech. You know what they have invested, where they have invested, which kind of a fintech they have invested, which kind of a geographies they have invested. Now, if you can use that data point and create some kind of a model which is only fintech specific, then yes, that kind of a predictive analysis will be possible. But otherwise, somebody who's like sector agnostic, like I'm a sector agnostic. Now, I may today invest in one, tomorrow my thesis will completely change. It becomes very difficult to predict.
So building upon that point, this thought comes to my head. You can probably even make sector specific CEOs or sector specific CXOs, whatever. Like if there's a fintech CEO which has been very successful and has scaled a startup from 1 to 10x, you just replicate that persona in multiple multiple geographies, maybe in a different country or a different continent altogether, and see how that particular persona performs, even not in the real world, but maybe just run a test, like make a simulation and see, okay, this is the persona of this particular CEO, and see in this particular location, say Europe, will this CEO succeed, looking at the current situation. Run a simulation, like fast track it by 1 year and see, okay, the success rate of this particular CEO is 80%, but this CEO is 90%. So now replicate that in the real world.
Look at that in a different way, CEO's decision making, because that's where you are looking at that persona, right? So create those kind of a different situation, let's say starting from cash flow management to the target to the profitability, everything. You can put all the parameters put together, and then under each of the parameter, how the decision making of the CEO will happen, and what is the impact of his decision on the company as a whole. Now, if you are able to create those kind of a thing, yes, you will be able to create some kind of a model.
Like a short-term analysis, like, okay, I'm feeding it to the AI model that I want to take this decision. How will it impact the outcome based on all this data you have? Okay, this has 20% success rate, but this has 50% success rate. Look, let me try this one.
But believe me, that also, as you rightly pointed out, that also will require hundreds of other data points, because if I'm looking at one decision as a CEO, there are hundred of external parameters, like something which is happening globally. Now tomorrow something happens globally which is going to impact my decision itself as a CEO.
Correct.
I have no control on it.
Correct.
Yes, and I'll top on that. This is more like an entrepreneurial talk. If you know about WorldCoin, right? If you add cryptocurrency into it, you can have virtual coins and you can have virtual financing. Right, done. So I mean, it's a product by itself. I know for a fact, but it's a segment which is not tapped on, and there's a huge gap there. Currently, everything is working with major gut feelings or factors which it's more like an Excel sheet which they have built. If everything is green, then it's green, right? So this can be automated. This can be generated by AI also, and I see a huge scope in this particular segment. So that is where the third part, consultancy and acceleration. Where we basically take the data sets of, let's say he's into, as he said, like we are tapping, like let's say Kunal, right, from Cred. He's only invested in one type, like typical segment sort of thing. Then there is Sauce. Sauce is into D2C only, right? And I'm actually tapping him also. I'm seeing what is the investment, how he's making. When I get these data sets, I can get a good recommender system. So that's something which people can build on.
Couple that with the new flow of investment opportunities. I think so. The way it will work is you have trained your algo based on existing data set. Now the same algo on a different investment opportunity, what will be its decision making? Whether it is going to give me green on all the parameters, or there will be couple of red flags. That will help me in taking a decision. So what he is saying is something, but as I mentioned, it is more on a sector specific. It will be very easy to do that, but when it comes to sector agnostic, it becomes very difficult.
I feel once these things actually manifest in the real world, again the landscape will completely change, because now every single person, whether you're a first-time entrepreneur or you're someone in the industry since 50 years, you all will have the same level of like data available to you, and which is true right now as well, but now it's highly automated and you can just run simulations on your computer for every decision that can happen, and even have a predictive analysis that based from today to 2 years from now, if I run this company in this way, what will the company look like? Obviously, as Sir rightly mentioned, there are a lot of variables that could change, but it's a more informed decision than just blindly walking into the thing.
Absolutely.
And there is, like as I said, there is GitHub for coders, Hugging Face for something like MLAI engineers, but nothing for entrepreneurs and investors, right? So there would be for sure, but I'm saying something like a social media where there is open source and get these processes from the investors. So I can see a huge gap there, but for sure this is a very interesting space.
But bottom line is decision making has to be yours, and I'll just not stop by saying this thing. But when I used to discuss with Sanjay Mehta, he's the founding partner of 100x VC, I used to ask him that whether I should invest in this particular startup or not. And he told me the same thing. Don't follow, what I am doing, because you really don't know. You can see the successes, but you really don't know what are the failures. So if you follow something, you have to basically, yes, take some part of it, but then ultimately you have to devise your own decision making, and based on that only you have to work. You can't just do a FOMO. If you follow something, it's a sure shot of taking some kind of a wrong decision.
You think, sir, like another point comes to my mind. If these tools actually manifest in the world, which they will mostly, people will stop trusting their own gut and actually start automating their thought process as well. It will be like, I don't want to, like for the next 10 weeks I have to take these decisions, just automate it and just go to the meeting and say that ye karo, ye karo, ye karo, ye karo. That's it. And because of that, eventually over a course of time, my brain is not developing enough, because I am just a slave to what the tool is telling me. And when the nucleus fails, like whatever the nucleus is, and those AI tools shut down, I'm just crippled and I don't know how to function in a business environment anymore. Do you think that's a major concern?
Let's go to basic. If you have a team right now, right? So if they know about ChatGPT and they are doing something, right? Do you think that they are using their brain enough to come back to you? Because I am talking to many founders right now. They're like, hey, everything is done on ChatGPT now, right? And the same thing, like everybody's dependent on ChatGPT so much. Now they're not using their brain.
Thinking, yeah.
I think the ownership will not go, because if you present something from these tools and you screw it up and you present the wrong thing at that moment, you
No.
cannot
Add one factor. You have to create your own persona.
one persona. Yeah.
Because while you are thinking about a CEO taking decisions
Yeah.
in various situations, it's
Yeah.
about me who's
Me.
taking a decision, right?
Yeah.
If I have to create my own persona who's
Yeah.
taking a decision automatically,
Yeah.
then only it can happen. Otherwise, it will
Right.
not. And I think that's not possible.